Hey, welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk.
Yes,
Cheers.
sir. My bad. Forgot to get my drink ready. Cheers.
Okay, I'll wait.
I got a koozie. I had it out earlier. I was gonna pour it, and then I realized that I
right.
didn't get it into my cup. So,
Nice.
anyways, I'll get that going right now. How are you, my
Perfect.
friend?
I am fantastic. Super excited for this conversation because it's something that pertains to every single business that we've ever worked with and every business that we've ever had a conversation with.
And any business out there, really, for that matter, listening to this podcast.
100%.
When you think about, and I know you're probably going to tell a little bit about what Zac does, but the CSRs are the frontline person, right? When you think about any business, when the first interaction that somebody has is the CSR, and if your CSR training is dog shit, chances of having that person be a customer for a long period of time, not that great. So you want to make sure that you invest in your team to be able to sorry, I started choking on my own words there. Apparently a little bit of a dry mouth. It's been I've had a 3-week-old at home, man.
Quit using it as an excuse.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, now I totally forgot the train of thought that I was going on. So
it's all right. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, a lot of companies are willing to invest in their tech training. They're willing to invest in their leadership training. They're willing to invest in their sales training. And for some reason, CSRs just get neglected and overlooked. And yet it has the potential to have one of the biggest impacts on your bottom line as a business. That's the thing that I really want to drive home with this conversation today is the amount of impact that you can have by making a minute shift in terms of percentage growth by increasing your booking percentage. The ripple effect of that is so huge, and it completely outweighs increasing your average ticket by 10%, 20%, 30%. You do that same percentage on the CSR front, and wow, look at the difference that it makes for your business. So I'm jacked for this conversation. Zac Garside, he is our guest. He's a CEO of Power Selling Pros. They help contractors go in and turn around their customer service department, and they turn it into a profit center for their business. He's worked with HVAC businesses, plumbing businesses, garage door, electrical, handyman. Doesn't matter. Home services, he's your guy when it comes to CSR training. Why? Because it's a people business and it's all about people interactions. So I'm excited for this conversation. I'm ready to get down to it. Good to go?
Hey, man, let's rock and roll.
All right. Forgot to do the sponsor readouts.
Oh, well, good thing I hit the rocket and not the full intro. So I am just fucking banging it out of the park here today. I seen Zac on the bottom. He literally just walked off screen. Today's show brought to you by CHIIRP, Profit Rocket, SERA. Not necessarily in any particular order, but Evan, you're going to go first.
Absolutely. So Profit Rocket. Look, if you want to learn what Victor has done to grow his business from 0 to 40 million, from call scripts to SOPs, profitability statements, how to increase your EBITDA, everything is in the blueprint. Go check out the Profit Rocket blueprint at callprofitrocket.com. And of course, he's got the Growth Summit coming up in September down in Austin, Texas. It's a beautiful venue. Go check it out. Right on the website itself, under the events section, the Growth Summit is right in there. You still have another 10 days to register for that, to get entered into the pre-registration draw to win a Dodge Ram truck. So go check it out. It's amazing. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited for it. Call profitrocket.com. Go.
All right. CHIIRP is the other one. They are an automation-based platform. Really, the ultimate toolbox has direct integrations, aka drop-down menus, to connect to Service Titan, House Call Pro, Jobber, SERA, etc. I like the automated text messages, emails, ringless voicemails, even direct integrations with direct mail, rehash programs, Google reviews. The list goes on and on and on. If you want to capture more leads and help convert them into paying customers, you need to get on CHIIRP. You can get 25% off your first 3 months by going to chirp.com/HSSR. And of course, once they book with you, you're going to need something like SERA in order to be able to help with your field service management software. I really love SERA because they have a lot of neat things built in: real-time job efficiency, dynamic dispatching, pricing model based on actual data, direct integration with Bluon too. They've announced that as a partnership. So your techs can get the information that they need when they're on site with the customer, add that information into SERA, help your remarketing program via CHIIRP to be able to use the Profit Rocket blueprint to make even more money. It's fascinating stuff. With SERA, though, average users see an increase of 52% in revenue within the first 6 months while doubling their profits. Check out a demo with them, sales.sera.tech/HVAC-revealed. And now I'm going to actually hit the right button this time and start our show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
What's up?
There we go. Now we got it.
I mean, I'm just take a little bit to get warmed up sometimes.
Yeah, just getting excited. That's all. Build the anticipation.
Absolutely. Zach, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. I truly appreciate it. Excited for this conversation. Curious about your journey into your role now as CEO of Power Selling Pros.
My journey. Well, 8 years ago, I was a returned missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Spent 2 years in Africa teaching people about Jesus.
Wow.
Got home, and Brigham Dickinson, he's the founder of Power Selling Pros. He'd known me in the years prior to me going on a mission. I've always had a thing for public speaking. So he said, hey, why don't you take the same skills you've been using the last couple of years to teach people, but bring them into the customer service world now. Help us teach customer service reps at HVAC companies how to book more calls and wow more customers. He was super flexible with my schedule as a student, so I took him up on it. And as I neared the end of my university career many years ago, I was disillusioned by like the traditional job market, recruiters and large companies coming in and wanting you to work at one of the big firms. So I stuck with it. I got into the sales and marketing side of Power Selling Pros, have coached and trained more customer service teams than I can even hope to count at this point. And last June, I basically went to Brigham and said, hey, what would you say if I had a vision for the company and involved me becoming CEO? So we duked it out, talked about it, and that's where we're at today.
Wow.
There you go.
That takes some gumption to step up and have that type of conversation.
Well, it's like we teach all our CSRs, man. If you don't ask, you don't get.
100%. I love that. I say that all the time. If you never ask, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. No, that's intense. So how many, this is probably a hard question to even answer, but how many teams, how many businesses have you stepped in personally and went in and coached and had a lot of success with before you became CEO?
One-on-one, I don't know, somewhere between the 100 and 200 ballpark.
Right.
As on a group level, though, I mean, I have no idea.
Right.
A lot. As of this moment, we have 450 or so contractors that are enrolled with us, and we coach about 1,000 CSRs one-on-one. Each individual CSR has a coach. That's our company at the moment. And at my peak, I think I coached 70 CSRs at one time.
Wow.
So every 2 weeks, I'd meet with each individual person and coach them.
So what goes into coaching a CSR? I'm curious. I mean, I know there's a lot of different things, but like when you look at having a CSR come on board, or you look at it, somebody coming on board, where do you generally start? It's
a great question. Well, first things first, why does a contractor want to train the CSR? It's almost always some version of we're hemorrhaging leads, right? We're paying our marketing company thousands of dollars for ads. We're getting leads and phone calls, but we're just not booking them. That's one version of it. Another version is I walked out onto the call center floor today and I couldn't believe my ears. It sounded horrible. I can't believe that's who's representing our company. That's what gets a contractor to want to do the coaching in the first place. So their tendency is, let's get the results turned around as quickly as possible. But the way it has to start is it has to start by changing the identity of the people who answer the phones. If I ask a CSR, what's your job? Can you guess what they say? Can you guess what the average answer is?
No.
I just answer the phones.
Right.
That's it. Which is sad.
Mm-hmm.
Like that you have a whole department of people who believe I just answer phones.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 80s and 90s, dude, when 1-800 numbers were new and picking up the phone and talking to a company was like literal magic because it was new, you wouldn't dare put anyone but your best and brightest on the phones. It was a prestigious honor to be able to represent the company when a hopeful customer called in. But now we pay them $12 an hour and we're like, yeah, go answer the phones. So it starts with identity change. We spend anywhere from 2 hours to an entire day in person shaping the identity of the people on the phones. You are the first impression of the business, the voice of the company. And until they see themselves that way, no scripts or tactics or methods that we teach are going to really stick unless they see themselves that way, right? That's why people hop from diet program to diet program to diet program, but they keep failing because in their minds, they still believe I'm an unhealthy person.
Correct.
I am out of shape. And that's the first thing that has to change.
Right. How much of that mindset coaching goes into the business owner or the leadership team or the management as well as the individual CSRs themselves?
Every company has a different level of willingness for the management team to be involved with it.
Right.
Some companies want to be hands off with it. And they basically trust us and say, coach my CSRs, do what you need to do. And that's okay. I prefer that the management is involved. I want the owner to be involved. I want the owner of the company to have a personal stake in this because that sends a great message to the CSRs themselves. Owners popping into technicians training meetings. Why not do the same thing for the customer service representatives? If they're involved, yeah, we work with them on mindset. We talk to them about how they should be seeing their CSRs. As an example, I was talking to a contractor 2 weeks ago. She was a little concerned because her CSRs want to get better at handling price objections. And then they want to jump right into what's the scripting that I need to get better at price objections, which we teach. But their coach was talking a lot about listening skills and empathy, connecting with the customer. So the business owner goes, I just don't quite understand why we're not addressing the price objections head on. And I said, we certainly can. But our objective isn't just to respond to it, it's to prevent it. And when I said that, the light bulb went off in her head. She realizes, oh, right. It's not just about having the script. There's plenty of people with scripting that aren't successful. It's about having the right perspective on what a customer needs so the price never becomes an issue in the first place.
Well, and that's the difference between understanding the lyrics of a song and feeling the music of a song. Right? Like it's the lyrics are one thing. That's your script. Anyone can follow the script.
Yeah.
Right. To really feel the music, to feel what it is that a customer is going through and why it is that they're bringing up this objection in the first place or this question in the first place. What is their frustration behind them calling you? To be able to feel that, understand that, relay that empathy back to them is so massive. Like nobody's calling a home service business excited to call them.
Yeah. I'm really curious what the local HVAC company charges. I'm just dying to know.
Right.
I don't need service. I just want to know what they charge. Yeah, that's not
I'm just super excited about changing out my air conditioner today.
Yeah.
I've been looking for someone that I can drop 20 grand with and get them out here to change out my air conditioner. This is just the most exciting thing to happen to me this year.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Well, part of that also stems from the distrust that they have in contractors.
Correct.
Right. And so when somebody calls in and they're like, okay, and you mentioned nobody's excited to call, an HVAC company. Well, mainly because their shit's broken, right? My air conditioner isn't working. It's Florida. It's hot out. I'm sweaty, right? My furnace isn't working. It's Canada. It's cold. I'm freezing. Fix my stuff. quickly. I want it done now, right? Or they're in pain. So when you think about that, and you think about that non-excitement that they have, and also the fact that there's this distrust, how can a CSR build that trust back up while on the phone and alleviate some of their fears?
Oh, brilliant question.
Nailed it. 2 in a row, Evan. 2 in a row, Evan.
Yeah, that's perfect. Just today, every Wednesday, I do this thing called Office Heroes. So all the office managers and operators from our clients' companies, I meet with every Wednesday to talk about how to run an office. Because typically, if you're a good CSR, good office person, you get promoted to be like the middle manager, right? But there's virtually no training, no support available to those people. But when I put pressure on both sides of this pen, where does it break?
In the middle.
Right in the middle. Same thing in all our companies, right? When there's pressure, it always breaks in the middle. So today, the question came up: how do you get the customer excited when they are not looking forward to it? So I played a phone call. It's about 5 minutes long. This customer service rep, his name's Jacob. First 5 seconds, he has this electric greeting. He sounds like he wants to be there, like he's happy to be talking to the customer, which already is different from most companies. I remember as a kid, my dad owned a locksmith business, and I'd be sitting in his office when I'd hear the guys out on the floor pick up the phone and go, "Locksmith." And even as a kid, I was like, come on. Like, all the blood, sweat, and tears my dad puts into this thing, and the first impression that customer gets of it is locksmith. I mean, that's the first part, is you got to have an electric greeting, very positive, very energized. The second thing is you got to demonstrate confidence. You can help them. Even if I don't care if they called the wrong number. They were looking for Pizza Hut and they got you. You can help that person, right? No problem. Let me get your zip code. Let me pull up the nearest Pizza Hut for you right now. The third thing you got to do is listen. Just let them talk. Let them tell you about the situation. Ask them how it's affecting their schedule today. Empathize with them. That's number 4. And number 5, reassure them, we can definitely help you. You've called the right place. We've got your back. This phone call I played today with Jacob, after he said, we can absolutely help you, the customer said, I got to tell you, man, this is the best interaction I've had all day. I've called several other companies. They didn't call me back. They made it sound like they were too busy. You're the only one that has made me feel like I'm in good hands. Like, the bar is low here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You call 5 of your biggest competitors, ask them what they charge for a tune-up, and you'll realize the call center is the only part of your business where you can achieve not just like a little bit better results, but dramatically better results with basically no investment of money. It's just calls that are already coming in. Book a higher percentage of them, create a better experience.
Yep.
I mean, you guys do marketing, right? You know this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had Ryan Redding was on the show 2 weeks ago, and we briefly chatted about this too. Is that, when it's not necessarily the marketing leads. You can send 500 leads, you can send 1,000 leads. If your booking percentage is absolute trash, doesn't matter how many leads that a marketing company is going to send, you're not going to be able to book it. Now, if you can increase your booking percentage and the marketing company can increase your leads, guess what happens to your business? It goes up.
That's right. If
Right.
If I were to tell you, so this is an interesting thought exercise, right? Because we talk about increasing the numbers, right? Increasing the booking rate, all these wonderful, important things. But suppose I go to a contractor and I say, John, if you can increase your booking rate from 50% to 90%, I will give you $1 million just because you did it. What will John do to increase his booking rate from 50 to 90%?
Everything.
Whatever it takes, right? Like, he will dissect the winning formula with every cell in his body to get the booking rate up.
Yep.
Because winning is what matters. Now, on the other hand, if I said, John, I want you to develop the character of your CSRs so that they are what I just described, more positive, more confident, better listeners, better at empathizing, better at focusing on what they can do. And I'm going to do an assessment before and after to see if you have improved the level to which they demonstrate those skills. And if it improves, I will give you $1 million. Do you think John's approach to get the $1 million will change
Mhm.
versus if it was just booking rate. Of course, because there's a fundamental difference between trying to get the number and trying to develop the people who get the number. And that is really where the core of training rests for us and every department, technicians too. If you're obsessed with the number, it will elude you. Or you will get there and it will feel hollow and empty. But if you focus on developing people that create a wow experience for the customer, that make it so that they never want to call anyone else again. They're not just expecting the technician, they're looking forward to him. The results will take care of themselves. They are a byproduct.
Well, it breeds that too, right? You look at somebody, we reference it quite a few times, Amanda Triolo and what they've bred into their team, there and the culture that they've created. If you have the culture plus the training plus the ability to focus on the number, now you're going to even win that battle in the long term. When it comes to booking rate, I know we've touched on it. What would you say that the average booking rate is for an HVAC company? And then after they go through your guys' training, what does it become?
That's a great question. I know that's the third time I've said that to you.
Shit,
Thad.
3 for 3, Evan. I'm out. I'm done. I'm just gonna sit back here.
Yeah, you're killing it, man. You're killing it with the questions today. So Service Titan actually just did a report a couple months ago in October. They showed the average booking rate for, I don't know how many contractors they did, but it showed that the typical shop had a call booking rate of 42%, which is horrendous.
Mhm.
That is like shockingly bad, right? That's basically the average call center's got an F. And every time I talk about this, contractors go, yeah, but what about the leads that are no good, right? What about the ones that aren't any? What about the ones that we don't want to work with? And I'm like, all right, so explain to me what kind of lead you don't want to work with. Let's get a definition here. They just want the lowest price. Nope, that's a good lead. If they're in your service area and they mention a problem you solve, it's a good lead. When they talk about price, it's because they don't understand the problem.
Correct.
And the only thing they do understand is I have $2,000 in my bank account. I'm trying to go to Disneyland with my kids in 3 months. That's why they're concerned about price. Your job, that contractors often say, we want the customer to self-qualify. I'm like, dude, their air conditioner's broken. It's 100 degrees outside. Their kids are self-qualify. They're barely in the right frame of mind to, get the kids ready for school. They're not going to self-qualify, bro. That's your job. Our expectation with the CSRs we coach is 85%. Really, you can do 90. We actually have a certification program, and they cannot get certified by us unless they are booking 85% of their calls.
And that's total call volume, all calls that come through.
That's total inbound calls that are in your area and have a problem you can solve.
So basically, every single person that calls,
unless it's spam or a technician
Right.
calling to the
Right.
office, right? Like
Right.
basically,
yeah.
things.
Yeah. So it doubles. Think about that. Like, if you're listening to this or you're
and
watching
again,
it,
that's the standard.
right. That's the
They said.
standard,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is
Why not?
85%. Like, but think about that: 42% to 85%. What if your business, anybody listen to this, and it doesn't matter if you're an HVAC, any business. What if your booking rate doubled for you on all your inbound calls? If you had 100 calls that were legit, what would that do for your business? Think about it. Only you can answer that. I mean, if depending on look at your average ticket. What's your average blended ticket rate on anybody that calls in? Easy, simple math right there. Boom, done.
But not only that, like going back to that customer that you just mentioned earlier, Zach, and how they felt calling that company, and it was the 5th company that they called, saying, thank goodness I finally found someone that I actually feel like is going to help me and understands my problem. How much more are they willing to pay for that service at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, price becomes secondary for sure. Now, here's the thing. Everybody wants price to be an either or thing. Like either they're obsessed with the price, that's all they care about, or they just want the good service. And people like to paint it like it's this black and white game, and it's not.
No.
I'm not so naive to think that price doesn't matter. Of course it does. But at some point, every customer will realize they're going to save like $10 on the dispatch charge by going with somebody else versus you. They're going to save, I don't know, $50 to $100 maybe on the actual, service call itself. At some point, every customer realizes, if I am serious about having somebody come fix this problem for me, I'm going to pay for it.
Correct.
Same with scheduling. Customers say, I need somebody right now. I need them here today. Contractor says, oh, well, we can't get out there for 3 days. That customer is going to realize at some point, I am waiting for someone. Every reputable company has a full schedule. I'm going to wait for someone. That someone should be you. I'm going to pay for someone. That someone should be you. This is why it's a mindset thing. It is. We get so in our heads about how abrasive customers can be on the phone, right? And understandably, they're upset. They didn't expect this. This is the last thing they wanted. When they bought the house a year ago, they knew this could be an issue, but they thought they could put it off, and now they can't. They're emotional. So you have to connect with them emotionally and make price secondary. You have to let them know they're in good hands. Customers want a connection more than they want a deal. Customers want to feel reassured more than they want the cheapest bid. Once you wrap your head around that, you can do it. You can book 85, 90% of your calls.
Well, and you think about that, like you look at some of the guys who are in the marketplace who aren't the race to the bottom, or they're the highest person that, one of the highest priced in their marketplace as well, because they have the ability to do what you're saying, right? They understand that. The one thing you mentioned, like the self-qualifying the phone, I can't remember the number, and I can't remember who was on the show, but somebody mentioned that north of, I want to say it was like 70%. I mean, I'm talking like installs, not necessarily service work. Finance it, right? Because you think about the average household, and the statistics are out there, 50 to 60% of households are 2 weeks away from not being able to pay their bills. They're not going to be able to buy the whole unit up front. They're going to look at financing anyways. So for them, that whole biggest price point, yeah, they might be shopping that at the very beginning, but they also know that they need it, and they're going to want to know that there's other options available too when it comes to the pricing.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't know that statistic, actually. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact number. Like it was a really high number, and that's why a lot of people show the monthly amount. I'm just trying to remember the guest now that had said it. But Evan, does that number sound familiar to you?
Yeah, it's something around there.
Yeah.
I just sent you guys this. I call it the call center gap calculator.
Yeah. Did you want us to run through that and pull it up?
Yeah. So this is really powerful math if you just do it hypothetically with somebody. So let's say your average ticket is, and for simple math, right? I know everyone's different, but $400. There's your average ticket. And you're taking 100 calls a day. Some businesses, it's significantly more. Others, it's much less. But let's just say, again, for simple math, $400 average ticket, 100 calls a day, currently booking, let's say 60%. Service Titan said the average is 42%, but let's say 60%.
Evan, can you zoom in on that to make it bigger? We don't need to see all the stuff on the right-hand side. We just want to see what the actual text are. Yeah, just the numbers. So
how's that?
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect.
So you can see there with those numbers, $400 average ticket, 100 calls per day, 60% booking rate. You're booking 60 calls. You're making about $500,000 in revenue per month. This is monthly revenue, but you're missing $400,000 a month in revenue. There's a $400,000 gap between what you could be getting and what you are getting just because of your conversion rate on the phone alone. If we add one more phone call a day, just a single call, right? You're taking 100, let's get it from 60 to 61. That's an extra $10,000 just like that over the course of a month. And every single business has at least one more call a day they could be booking. No question about it. If you increase it by 5%, not even double, just 5%, that's another $50,000 per month in revenue. And then if you increase it by 10%, it's $100K. These are small changes, This isn't even scripting. This is just be a little more confident when you present your pricing. When you ask the customer, when would you like us to come out? When you offer the additional services. Once you look at it like that, you realize, oh man, this is the low-hanging fruit right here, hugely powerful.
Well, and that's again the difference that it makes when you're improving the top of the funnel, right?
Yeah.
The trickle down effect of that is so impactful on a business, which is why it just baffles me when I talk to businesses all the time about their leads that are coming in, and are we hitting the goals for the month? And did you get your book call number for the month? And I go and I look at how many missed calls they had for the month and how many calls they didn't answer within the first minute of the person calling. And like, it's such simple little things that can impact a number like this, just by improving that front end staff.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's not even getting into scripting or attitude or anything else. That's just answer your goddamn phone.
Yeah, that's right. I went to a call center last spring. Really big company, call center that answers for multiple brands, and they have a problem with retention. Like CSR retention. People come, they work for a couple months, they leave either to a different department of the company or another company entirely. So I asked the management team, what are you guys doing for retention? I'm curious to know what kind of things are in place to try and improve this, make this a better place for people to work. And the CSR managers get real excited, right? They're bubbling, and they go, oh, okay. So yeah, in the corner of the office, we're putting a spinning wheel. And if you spin the wheel, it'll land on a prize, which you can pick from the bucket, right? Like a candy bar or whatever thing. We think that'll be really fun for the CSRs. I'm like, so let me get this straight. You got a whole department of people here that are just like churning and burning, right? It's a revolving door. They're coming and going. People with families, people with kids, spouses who depend on them, maybe loved ones they're helping pay medical bills. And they're coming here, and after just a couple of months, they're deciding this is not the place for them to build the life they want. Your solution to that problem is to put a spinning wheel in the corner like they're in first grade, let them spin it and win a Twix bar. Are we on the same page here?
Candy bars.
Do we understand how ridiculous that sounds?
Yeah.
Like, we treat CSRs like they're kids. They're worse than kids. We were at another company doing a big training all day with the CSRs. Before the training started, we met with the management team. And the management team has fresh donuts brought in. Someone's like, hey, everybody, I got donuts. Oh, awesome. Our head trainer, Steven, he says, can I guess where the leftover donuts are going? And the whole management team gets real excited. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to give them to the customer service department. He says, right, because you wouldn't get them new donuts. You'd give them the leftover donuts. And a hush falls over the room. As everybody realizes, crap, like, and even I used to work as a CSR in fintech. I worked at a financial technology company. I worked as a customer experience associate is what we called it. And I distinctly remember this day that we were working there, and the sales team, like, oh, sales. And I love sales, right? The sales team goes and has a meeting in the big conference room in the back of the building. Somebody wheels this whole cart with acai bowls and fruit and drinks back to the sales meeting. And the CSRs, right? We're looking like, oh, that looks amazing. Well, how fun. But as soon as we turn the music up to like a 5 out of 100 volume level, our manager's like, no music. Focus on the cues, right? Focus on the calls and chats that are coming in. After the sales meeting, somebody wheels over the leftovers, right? These half melted smoothie bowls to the customer service team. Like, hey guys, we brought you the leftovers from our meeting. A couple of my coworkers like, oh, thank you. And I'm smacking their wrists like, don't you take that. Don't you let them treat you like a dog, man. We're not there. We're not just going to take the leftovers, the scraps. Okay. It's a real problem, dude. Come on. These are people. These are humans. Mm-hmm. They are the first impression of your business. Unacceptable the way we treat them.
It makes me want to walk over to the manager and just say,
did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
But really, right? Like, it's like the reality is that how do you not put attention on your front end staff? How do you not give them the level of respect and love and appreciation? How do the salespeople not do that? How do the technicians not do that? Like, it shouldn't just come from the owners. Every person within that business, their livelihood is dependent on the CSRs?
Mm-hmm.
There's a great story to answer that. There's a company called Barry Way Miller, big manufacturing company, classic blue collar business. The CEO, the founder of the company, Gary Chapman, he went to one of his employees' weddings one day. And he's sitting there watching the bride walk down the aisle and her father holding her by the hand, crying as he takes her up to her husband. And Gary Chapman in that moment had this dramatic realization, simple but dramatic, which is everyone is someone's son or daughter. It's kind of hard to treat people like crap when you look at them that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even your worst enemy, the person you wish nothing but woe upon. Once you realize that is someone's son or daughter. I don't know. You guys have kids. Thad, you mentioned you have a 3-week-old.
Yep.
I don't know if you have kids, Evan.
Yeah, I got 3.
Okay. I've got 3 as well. When you think about those kids, the thought of somebody treating them like less than a person fills you with rage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, loving rage, I should say. Like you'd do anything.
I'd want to smack him up the side of the head.
Everyone is someone's son or daughter. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. There's not like this complicated. Here's how to treat people with more respect. Come on. Like, is that the kind of training we need? It's simple.
Apparently,
Right.
I mean, we're in business, right? Like we're doing our thing. So,
But you're right. I mean, we could go down a whole deep conversation about the level of respect that people do or don't have in 2023 for one another. And at the end of the day, we need to be better. They need to be better. People need to be better, and just treat everybody. You know, it's the old quote: "Do unto others as you expect others to do unto you." Right? Whether you're religious or not, that quote rings true.
that's right.
Yep.
plus 10% if you want to be a little bit better.
There you go. All right, random question, Tom. Random question generator is one of the favorite parts of the show. It has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. It's just that, a random question. It is also brought to you by On Purpose Media. On Purpose Media is your local HVAC marketing expert. So if your HVAC marketing sucks, call us, onpurposemedia.ca, to get in touch. I like when I say it that way. All right. We have 4 questions queued up. Of course, you do not get to know what question is what. You just get to choose question 1, 2, 3, or 4. We read it off. So what question would you like?
Let's go 4. 4 is my lucky number as a kid.
All right. If you could meet up with any celebrity for coffee, who would you choose?
Any celebrity for coffee. Does it have to be like what the world considers a celebrity, or it can be like someone I consider a celebrity?
Your question.
Your question.
My answer to the question. Okay. I would really want to go to lunch with or coffee or whatever. Oh my gosh, guys. I have like 5 people spinning through my head right now.
Rapid fire them all.
Tim Urban. You guys know Tim Urban? He did the TED Talk, Inside the Mind of a Procrastinator.
Ooh, no.
You guys got to watch the TED. It's like one of the top. It's like the 5th most viewed TED Talk of all time. This dude has the most read blog in the entire world. He has the most fascinating mind ever. Tim Urban, man. His TED Talk is equal parts insightful and hilarious. I feel like he'd be a great person to have lunch with. And you guys are gonna laugh at me for this. Like genuinely, you're gonna think I'm really immature and silly, but I want to go to lunch with Zac Efron. I think Zac Efron's rad. I think he is so cool. Like, I'm not, guys. My name.
Okay, go on. No, you gotta. Why?
My name
Why
is
is
Zac.
he cool?
ZAC is how I spell my name, because that's how Zac Efron spells his name. When I was a kid and High School Musical came out, I was like 10 years old. I was like, Zac Efron is the coolest guy in the world. Yeah, there you go. I want to go have lunch with Zac Efron.
Nice.
I was trying to find an image. I was trying to find an image if he has a picture of his hair similarly styled to how your hair is, because I know there are some instances where his hair is like that. So I was trying to look really quickly to see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, they're out there. Don't you worry. I've looked when I was a kid.
I did really appreciate his work in Dirty Grandpa. I thought he did fantastic in that one.
Yeah.
That was a funny one.
Yeah. There you go.
Although when he did that docu-series, I was questioning some of his thoughts on the world and where they came from. It certainly showed his sheltered upbringing that he had.
That's he like travels the world with some dude, right? And does
With Darren Olean.
Yeah, I haven't watched that.
There's some good stuff on there. I highly recommend it because it reveals a lot about what's going on in the world. However, it'll also give you some insight into Zac Efron and the way he thinks and perceives the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And I will also say I do have a funny joke about procrastination that I always love to share, in that procrastination is like masturbation. It sounds great at the time, but in the end, you're just screwing yourself.
That's horrible. That's good.
It is terrible, but it's also accurate and it works.
I mean, there's truth to every joke, right?
I was curious if that came up in the TED Talk or not, but I guess not.
It did not. No.
Okay. All right.
Dude,
Well,
jokes are good though. Like anytime you can work humor and comedy into the conversation, like
absolutely.
Every joke has truth to it.
Absolutely.
That's my new thing when I travel and speak places, is I have to watch a stand-up comedy special at some point before I speak. Like last week, I was coming back from Lennox Live, Las Vegas, and I watched this Jim Gaffigan stand-up special on the plane, which if you're sitting in the middle seat, I don't recommend. Because of the whole time, right? I'm just like sitting there trying to control the laughter while these guys on each side of me are like, what's going on with this kid?
Yeah, he's vibrating over here. What's going on?
Oh, I definitely laugh out loud on planes if I'm watching something funny. And I zero cares given. It doesn't matter. I'll just laugh.
It's infectious, man.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then people look over like, what is that guy watching? Oh, that's not on the show. What? How come that's not on the menu? Yeah, it's called downloaded Netflix.
All right, I want to dive into some of the actual teachings that you come in and bring to an office, and I also want to speak to. Actually, let's start with this. First off, the mindset of a business owner. How can we? I feel like we've really beat a dead horse with this a little bit, but I want to make sure that we really hit this home, and I want to be able to use this part as a snippet afterwards. So, just setting the stage. For the business owner that says that the CSR department is not as important as I think it should be, what would you say to them as to why they need to really invest in their CSR department and make sure that it is operating at peak efficiency in order to benefit the rest of their business?
Yeah. Number one, they are the first impression of your company, the last if you screw it up. Number two, these are people with lives, dreams, families, careers. And you don't want anyone to walk away from your business thinking it was anything other than a pivotal moment in their career. Why would you want to foster an entire department of people who believe that you're just a stepping stone on the way to something that actually matters in their life? And finally, you owe it to your customers. Your customer expectations are higher than they have ever been, ever before. We live in a day and age where we don't have to speak to people. We don't have to go through customer service. We could fill out a form. We could talk to a chat bot. I could schedule through Schedule Engine. I could go through Amazon Home Services. And yet, despite all of those options, when that phone rings and I hear press 1 for 2, press 3 for service, press 4 for sales, press pound to speak to a representative, what do we all do? We murder that pound button because we want a person who's going to listen to us and care about us. That is why you should make the customer service department a priority in your company, and you'll make more money.
So
just sprinkle that in at the end.
Yeah.
Phone trees, right? We've had some discussion recently inside our business about phone trees, and you sparked that by saying press 1, press 2, press 3. I mean, obviously, phone trees can be necessary. In your opinion, should a business have a phone tree, and if they do, how can you do it the right way?
Well, first of all, Let me tell you another story. I'm full of stories in case you guys haven't noticed this.
Stories are the best way to get the message across.
Yeah. So back in I mentioned the 80s and 90s earlier, right? Like it was like magic to pick up the phone and talk to a person. It was new, it was exciting. FedEx, Federal Express, who we all know, built their empire on the phones, right? They were known for having a 1-800 number you could call, and a person with energy and confidence and care would pick it up and talk to you, and within 2 days, your package would be shipped. They built their empire on the phone. Then some bozo comes along and he's like, you know, we need to save some money. And you know where we spend the most money? The phones. So, and of course, that's not the only reason, right? There's spammers and all the people that kind of get in the way and that's the main reason people do phone trees, right? Is they want to block out the crap. But what it does to your reputation and to the experience is it sends a message immediately that your call is not very important to us. Right? If you have to say your call is very important to us, it means the opposite. Like the only companies that have to say your call isn't very important to us are the ones that are doing everything not to pick it up. So if you're going to do a phone tree, it's got to be with intention. There has to be a reason beyond, well, we're supposed to have a phone tree or it's cheaper, right? It has to be because your call volume is extraordinarily huge. And you have so many options for that customer to talk to, so many different departments, that the phone tree is the only way to get them there quickly. But if you're a small company, and by small company, I mean your average person is answering 50 calls a day on average, like that's a good call volume. You don't need a phone tree. You are going to benefit more from a reputation and service standpoint by having a person answer every call and direct it where it needs to go than you will installing a dial tree. I think that the problem is most people who do a dial tree really don't need one, especially in the trades. There are very few contracting businesses that have the call volume large enough to actually justify a dial tree. You're going to be just fine without it if you have somebody who answers it. And guys, dude, it's 2023. If you're that worried about the labor costs associated with it, there are brilliant people in the Philippines, in Mexico, offshore, like great, talented people who you can train to represent your company well. And you know, you're not going to be breaking the bank on it. I hired a sales rep in Mexico about 2 years ago, and this guy's brilliant. Another company, Porch, if you guys have heard of them, they're similar to like Angie's List. Porch, I asked them, how do you hire sales reps? And they go, oh, dude, our whole sales team is based in Mexico now. I'm like, really? So I went for it and I hired this guy, Orlando, from Mexico, and he is brilliant. He's a genius. An amazing salesperson, amazing representative of our company. And now I'm like, dude, there are great people out there. Basically what I'm saying is there are better options for most companies than a phone tree. Take a little more work, but your customers will thank you.
Nope. Perfect. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one use case that we're looking at right now with a client is because they're getting spam calls specifically to their LSA, where it's affecting their ranking and their ability to show because they don't even get a chance to answer the call.
Yeah. Spam calls are the biggest problem. Like that's honestly the main reason why phone trees became a thing in the first place is
Yep.
It sucks.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is that if it is a local service ads and they are getting spammed on that, well, then you just set up that phone number with a phone tree. You have your website, you have your Google business profile, you have your Google ads, anywhere else as if the spam calls aren't that big, then roll with a regular old fashioned number.
That's right. You got it.
You gave me an idea though, which I like, which is having the phone tree just be one number, right? And to be very blatant and blunt and honest about why it is that you have it.
Yep.
Hey, we're just trying to filter out spam calls so we can make sure that we're answering the real people. Press 1 now to talk to a real person.
Yeah.
Simple, right? Simple. I was thinking
exactly.
that. I was thinking that exact same thought too, Evan. So like we're on the same wavelength. I'm like,
Perfect.
well, if the issue is people because like my cell phone company is the worst culprit, right? Like I hate it. It's an automated thing, and you got to talk to it. I'm like operator. I can't understand your query. I'm like operator. Can't understand your query. I want to talk to a real person. I can't understand. I'm like get fucked. Like I just want to talk to a person. So in that regard, you can say that, hey, we're trying to filter with spam. Press 1 to talk to us.
Yeah.
You know what most people are going to do? Oh, I get 20 spam calls a day on my phone. I get that. I can respect that. Cool. I'm going to press 1.
You got it. Yeah, that's actually brilliant. You guys said it right there. If you're going to do it, be different, be simple. We actually coach a company. This is brilliant, guys. When you can turn a bug into a feature like that, it's really genius. So this company, their hold music is a guy singing about being on hold. The whole bit is a joke. I heard it like 2 weeks ago. One of our coaches was like, listen to this hold music. And it's literally this guy strumming his guitar, singing about being on hold. I don't know where they've gone. I'm sitting here forever. And when you listen to the recordings, the customers are laughing.
Right.
Like they're like, oh, the self-awareness is amazing. Right. Yeah,
well, laughter is one of the best medicines there are, right? You even said it. It's why you listen to some stand-up before you go talk at an event, right?
Sure.
If you can get people laughing, you can connect with them a lot more because it's an icebreaker.
Absolutely.
Yep. Love it. Confidence. How are you helping and coaching CSRs and instilling more confidence in them so that they believe that what they do matters?
Well, think about professional athletes. What does a professional athlete do to develop their confidence, to improve their game? Practice.
Talk about practice.
Talk about practice. Game film, like watch the film, go back, break it down. It's the same exact thing. Our coach, we listen to phone calls, we play them back. And CSRs always hate listening to their calls at first. But once you hear yourself, you will immediately start to change things. You'll immediately start to improve on the things that you don't like. And let's role play. If your CSRs are not role playing with a coach, guess who they're doing it with? Your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Your customers are the ones that they are practicing with, and that is not what you want. So it's really those two things. Practice, review the tape, so to speak, review the phone calls, listen to them, get better. When it says this call may be recorded for quality assurance, are you doing it? Are you listening to calls? Are you doing quality assurance? That's how you build confidence. And then have somebody who cares about them do it. Like have a person whose job is to help people get better, to coach them, to train them. Somebody that they can trust, someone whose feedback they respect, who's earned the right to give that feedback to them.
So two things. One, you mentioned game footage, powersellingpros.com/free. Good opportunity to drop that. That is 17 free customer service training videos for contractors. So that'll give you, if you don't have your own game footage to be able to look at right there, great option to be able to do that. Another thing that comes to mind is have a friend secret shop your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why not have that person secret shop that business? Because and then it's somebody that's a trusted friend that will give you straight, honest feedback based off of their experience that they have when they call, right? Because I know I have a friend here who took over a business, and I remember calling that to get a service, and I called that business, and man, if it wasn't for my friend owning that business now, I would never have done business with that person because the lady on the phone was an absolute B. I should just say bitch, but hey, you know what? I don't know why I said B. But really, like she was just straight up not a nice human. And I'm like, if that's like the experience, and I told him that hey, by the way, one of the things when you fully take over this business is you're probably gonna have to train her or fire her because she was that bad on the phone. And he's like, didn't know that because he's never called his business, right?
Yeah, man, powerful stuff. I love secret shopping, by the way. That's a great technique.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things to do during like the sales process for us is I'll call them, and then before we do our strategy session, I'll be like, oh, by the way, it took 45 seconds for anyone to answer the phone, and when I had a question about price, they just kind of pushed it off, and they didn't really answer my question, and they didn't really know what they were talking about. Like, you should probably go work with them a little bit on that.
You just gave me a great idea.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna we do that occasionally, but I'm like, we should do that on every sales call we have too.
Absolutely.
We're always a little nervous about us insulting people, right? Like,
Yep.
I scheduled a call with you. I know it's not good. You didn't need to.
But here's the other thing that
Just-
you can do.
You
like,
only
I
whip
thi-
it out. You only whip it out when you need that reassurance.
right?
Yeah.
But the other thing you do is you can also leave that as a point of value first, right? You can do that as a coaching opportunity. I know that's why Evan is doing that, is to lead with value first, which is one of our core values, to say, hey, we're a marketing company, but I also did this, right? If in where you phrase that in your sales process is, hey, by the way, I did a secret shop on your guys' business. Here's a couple things that you can instantly change right now to be able to get a better booking rate. Regardless if you're going to do business with me or not. Now, what did you just do? You just gave them value.
Love that. That's brilliant.
Yep. Every now and again, we get a couple good ideas.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. Well, we want to make sure that everyone can get a hold of you. We've already dropped the website and the free tool that you have. But of course, you can reach out to Zac as an individual as well. Zachary, not like Efron, at powersellingpros.com.
ZACHARY, by the way, for those that are listening later. Be in the show notes.
Facebook.com/powersellingpros to go check out their Facebook page. And they've got a YouTube channel as well. youtube.com/user/powersellingpros. Go check out all of that and the great information that they have on there.
Brilliant.
That looks like he's lost in.
Oh, I'm actually putting up the YouTube link to see what happens, because I haven't seen user in there before. So I don't know if it was perhaps an error. No, it does actually go that way. The other one you can do is, I believe, the @ sign instead of the word user. You can do Power Selling Pros / @ or youtube.com / Power Selling Pros. Same thing.
Nice.
Awesome.
Fun facts.
Thad, do you
Well-
have any final questions?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay, great. Go for it.
Well, as we wrap up, we have one final question for you. And that is, what is one question that you wish people would ask you more, but don't?
Zac, how do I do business with you?
Well, Zac, how does somebody do business with you?
No, I'm all kidding aside. Just email me, Zach@powersellingpros.com. We'll schedule a consultation. Help you turn your call center into a profit center. I always wish people would ask more about the hiring of CSRs. Hiring, like, people often ask about fixing a less than ideal situation in the call center, but I rarely get questions about how to hire good CSRs in the first place, because that's how you prevent these problems.
Sure. Well, I lied. That wasn't my last question. There's probably going to be more after this, but how do you go about, like, what does a person look for in hiring a CSR? How do you go about hiring the rock star that is going to change your call center into a profit center?
Yeah. First things first, every contractor listening to this needs to completely revamp the job description of a CSR. The way that we write job descriptions for CSRs and dispatchers and sales lead coordinators is pitiful. Needs an overhaul ASAP. Like, you need to build some hype, some energy around that. A CSR has 3 jobs: book the call, wow the customer, uncover additional revenue opportunities on the phone, upsells, cross sells, maintenance plans, things like that. Dispatcher has 1 job: maximize revenue. The sales lead coordinator has 1 job: build anticipation, build excitement for the estimator who's going to come out and quote a new system. You've got to build your job description around those 3 clear, easy to understand roles and make it exciting, make it fun. All these job descriptions are like, must be able to multitask, must be organized, I'm like, boo, dude. Multitasking there's no such thing, right? It just means you're bad at focusing on one thing at a time, right? And all the other stuff that we say in our job descriptions, like self-directed, positive, upbeat, good communicator, shiz, dude. Like, It's like when a contractor says, we are trustworthy, reliable, and dependable. Yeah, because that's the bare minimum to even exist, bro.
Mhm.
That's you can't even compete if you don't have those things. Tell me something interesting. I mean, my gosh, I gave a presentation at, you guys know Tommy Mello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I spoke at his conference in October.
Nice.
And I put up on the screen, I had this slide where I was like, let's see how most contractors talk about themselves. And it just was popping with like reliable, trustworthy, dependable, reliable, trustworthy, dependable, all these jargony words that everybody has on their websites. And I go, that seems like a really good differentiator. Sounds like that's really helping a lot of contractors stand out in a crowded market. No, man, all these really generic buzzwords we use. You got to make the job description really interesting. A well-written job description is half the job. You've done half of the work of getting a great CSR. And then when you bring them in, you are not a Fortune 500 company. All right. You don't need to have this incredibly formal job interview setting where you're expecting everyone to be like legs crossed. You're going to pay them $12 an hour, for crying out loud, dude. You don't pay them enough. Don't act like you're going to in the job interview. You should be paying like $20 an hour plus incentives, which are a no-brainer because you can profit hugely from a CSR that is on a compensation plan like that. But man, bring them in, practice with them, role play, see how they handle customer concerns, play recorded phone calls for that CSR, ask them how they would respond to it, get them to think on their feet, have lunch with them and the team, see how they interact with everybody else. The same thing, we will teach your CSRs to wow the customer. You want to hire good ones? Wow them in the interview process. That should be your objective. Create a wow experience. People just hire the way they do because they think you're supposed to hire that way. And it's boring, it's dry, it's dull, and evidently it doesn't work. If there's anything that we do in this industry over and over and over and over again, even though the results continue to be lackluster, it's the way we hire. Everyone's like, gosh, labor is such a problem. We can't find good people. I'm like, yeah, because you're hiring like you did in the 70s, bro.
Yep.
You haven't changed a thing about the hiring process in 50 years.
Well, they did. They took the ad from the newspaper and put it on Indeed.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's funny because there's some people who turn people away from their business, and other people say, I can't find any good help. Well, okay, what's the differentiating factor between the business? Well, you look in the mirror. One of the you mentioned CSR comp plan. In terms of paying them your set wage plus bonuses. What does something like that look like?
I have a tiered system that I recommend every contractor use. So bottom line is, let's see, let me pull it up here. First level of the structure is just your hourly pay. Again, like $20 an hour. Hourly pay is a really good way to start it off. Second level of the comp structure is maintenance agreement sales. So your CSRs talk to more customers than anybody else. They should be selling maintenance plans more than anybody else. You can pay them per membership sold. You can pay them in tiers. So like once you sell 10, you get $100. Once you sell 20, you get $250. There's many different ways you can do it. But basically is after their hourly pay, you want to pay them for membership sales. The third level is company-wide bonuses for revenue goals. So we want to go from 1 million to 2 million. If you hit the goal, bonus everyone. CSRs included, right? They were part of that. The fourth level, so you've got hourly pay, maintenance agreement pay for when they sell memberships over the phone, like direct selling, company-wide goals being hit. Then you get into the little more complicated stuff where you have to have good tracking in place, which is upselling and cross-selling. If they turn an HVAC call into a plumbing call, bonus or percentage of the ticket. It doesn't have to be a big percentage, can be 2%, but percentage of the ticket. If you have an online store, like with Contractor Commerce, if you guys are familiar with them, dude, do you know how easy it is now for your CSRs to sell additional services on the phone? If you have an online store, you can literally walk them through it on the phone, like buy the filter, buy the IAQ product right there on the call. Give your CSRs a percentage of that, commission them just like any other salesperson. As in addition to upselling, cross-selling, you have sales recovery. So let's say your technicians go out, They provide an estimate. Customer says no. Now you've got all these open bids that have not been closed. Man, bonus your CSRs to get on the phone and call those people. Like, hey, John, I noticed we came out there yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was. We provided you a quote on a new system, but it wasn't right for you. I'm curious if you've found somebody else to take care of that for you. Oh, you haven't? When would you like us to come out? And get somebody back out there, get that job done. Again, they're going to book with someone. I promise. It should be you. Give them a commission on that too for getting that lead reset up again. And then the fifth and final layer is conversion rate goals. If they book 85% of their calls, like I say, they get a bonus. If they get 90%, they get a bonus. If they get 95%, they get a bonus. And on it goes. So those are the 5 layers. When I get with an individual contractor, it's a lot easier to do specific numbers because then we can see what the job costing is, which is a huge part of setting up the bonus structure, right? We need to know what the profit per job is to be able to decide how much should we pay the CSR for turning the HVAC call into a plumbing call, for cross-selling or upselling to different services. But those are the different tiers: hourly pay, memberships, company-wide goals, upselling, cross-selling, and then conversion percentage goals. We could do a whole episode on that.
I'm sure we
Right?
could.
Outside of the interview, is there any kind of like profiling or assessments that you would have done on a CSR to determine whether or not they're a good fit based on the characteristics that they present?
That's a great question.
Got one.
No, about time, finally.
Yeah, golly, I've been waiting for it. I've had that in the
Took
pocket.
me a
this whole
minute.
time. Dude, I wish I could say I had like a bulletproof profiling test for CSRs. Don't. That's probably something that we could develop, that we could build out. But for us, I'm just a fan of simplicity. I feel like it's fairly straightforward. It's not always easy, but it's fairly straightforward to know when you've got a good CSR in your hands. There are certain attributes that are obvious in conversation, and that's what the judge should be, right? The quality of the conversation. That's their job.
Right.
So yeah, maybe in the future we'll develop something like that. But as of right now, it's kind of a conversational thing.
Got it.
Makes sense.
So would you have them like read off a script during the interview?
No scripting. I do
Okay.
not like scripting.
Okay.
I would role play with them. I would
Right.
have them think on their feet. We teach in principles, not scripting. So basically what that means is be positive, be confident, listen, care, reassure, ask for the business, build value, and be grateful.
Right.
There's a million different ways to do those things, a million different ways it could sound. So I'm less interested in scripting it and more interested in making sure that each of those things happen.
Right.
So I would say, to example, with a CSR in a job interview, I would say, all right, let's run a little scenario here. I'm a new customer. Don't stress product knowledge. Okay. You don't need to be an expert in HVAC, but I'm a customer whose air conditioner is broken. It's 100 degrees outside. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 5-year-old at home, and I'm taking time off work to make this phone call. I want to hear what you will do to make me feel like I've called the right place, and then role play with them. You don't need any product knowledge to be able to do this. You don't have to understand the ins and outs of HVAC. You don't need to know all the terminology. You don't even know how to walk them through fixing their thermostat or putting batteries in. I just need to know, can you make customers feel awesome about working with us? And then see how they do it.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
Let them think on their feet.
Mhm.
Then you're going to get the real honest and raw approach.
That's right.
Mhm.
It's much easier to teach technical skills and scripting if there's a level of people skills there in the first place.
Mhm.
Correct.
That's why I like one of my first interview questions is tell me about yourself, or describe yourself and using the third person. It's a great question. Because people are like,
okay.
what? Because normally you say, okay, well, tell me a little bit about yourself, right? Like that's what a lot of people ask in an interview. Well, flip that and say third person, because now they have to think on their feet.
Wow, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. I remember the first interview that I did that on. It's actually one of our web developers. He just went like, "Oh, that's a good question," and then just instantly went. And I was just like, all right, I've got a winner here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. All right,
Cool.
Evan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, this has been great. This has been a real treat. I love this last part of the conversation for hiring. I think that's incredibly important. Glad for all the people that stuck around right to the end to be able to catch that part, because there were some nuggets within that. Zach, this has been fantastic. The importance of this on a business. I mean, I can't stress it enough. I said it at the beginning of the show. I'll say it again. It is incredibly essential for a business to focus on their front end staff, because the multiplication of importance that this can have an impact on the bottom line for a business is massive, and it's so understated. Yeah, incredible work what you're doing, and an incredible impact that you're making. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been my absolute pleasure.
And until next time,
Cheers.
cheers. Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, two quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.